My grandfather was a quiet man. Not the warm, grandfatherly quiet of someone who just didn't talk much. A different kind. The kind that felt like he was always listening for something you couldn't hear. The kind that made rooms feel smaller when he entered them. He lived alone on 40 acres of Montana wilderness, a cabin he'd built himself, no neighbors for miles, a single phone line that worked maybe half the time. I visited twice a year as a kid, holidays. He never came to us. I remember his hands most. Large, rough, scarred in ways hunting accidents didn't explain. Cuts that ran too straight, burns in shapes too regular, like his body had been a tool he used without concern for wear. He died last January, heart failure, 89 years old, outlived everyone in his family by decades. My mother, his daughter, had passed when I was 14, pneumonia, fast. I was the only one left. The will was simple. The cabin, the land, a storage unit in Missoula I didn't know about, and a box, wooden, locked, about the size of a shoebox. The lawyers said I'd find the key inside the cabin, taped to the underside of his kitchen table. It was there, exactly where they said. The box opened easily. Inside were notebooks, dozens of them, all identical. Black leather, unlined pages, dense handwriting in my grandfather's cramped script. Each one labeled on the spine with a date range. The earliest was 1971. The latest ended 3 weeks before he died. I sat at his kitchen table and opened the first one. The first entry was dated March 14th, 1971. First break today. Northwest quadrant. Fissure opened at 0300. Radius approximately 4 feet. Contained it in 12 minutes. Used method 3. Sealed it with salt compound. Monitoring. I didn't understand. Read the next entry. March 15th. Fissure holding. No residual bleed. Checked the perimeter at dusk. Clean. But the air feels wrong near the site. Too still. Watched it until dark. And the next. March 19th. Second break. Same quadrant. Larger this time. 20 feet, maybe more. Took it to the compound. Used method 5. Lost 2 hours of daylight. Something watched me work. Didn't see it directly, but felt it, like pressure behind your eyes. I flipped through the pages, entry after entry, breaks, fissures, containment methods numbered and referenced, notes about weather patterns, moon phases, animal behavior. Observations so detailed they read like an obsessive scientific record. But the language was wrong. Too casual for science, too precise for paranoia. He knew exactly what he was doing. He just never explained what it was. I spent the first week reading, cover to cover, 53 notebooks spanning 50 years. The picture emerged slowly, not all at once, but in layers, like developing a photograph. My grandfather wasn't a hunter. He'd never told me what he did out there in the woods. I'd assumed wildlife management, conservation, something quiet and solitary that matched his personality. He was a guardian, a keeper of a boundary he called the skin. In his terminology, reality had a border, not physical, not geographic, something else, a membrane maybe, between what existed and what shouldn't, between the world as it was and something pressing against it from the other side. And that border had weak points, places where it thinned, where it could crack, tear, bleed. My grandfather spent 50 years walking that border, finding the cracks and sealing them. The early notebooks were clinical, factual, observations without emotion. Break at coordinates 47.2, negative 112.8. Fissure type, seepage. Duration before detection, approximately 6 hours. Containment method, salt compound, iron filings, spoken seal. Time to close, 40 minutes. But as the years went on, the tone shifted. Notes got longer, more reflective, and darker. 1984. Something new came through today. Not a fissure, a presence. Felt it before I saw it. The air went heavy, like before a storm, but without the electricity. It stood at the tree line for an hour. I watched it through the scope. It didn't have a shape, not exactly, just a darker place in the dark. It left when the sun came up, but it'll be back. 1989. 3 breaks in 1 week. Worst stretch I've seen. They're coming faster now, closer together. Either the skin is weakening, or something on the other side is pushing harder. Maybe both. I'm tired. My hands shake when I seal them, not from the cold. 1993. Talked to Margaret at the supply store about whether she'd noticed anything strange. She said the elk have been acting odd, won't graze near the north pasture anymore. Animals know. They always know. 1997. I'm not the first. Found old marks in the woods today. Someone else's work. Older than mine. Decades older, maybe more. They used different methods, different compounds, but the same principle. Find the crack, seal it, move on. I wonder how long this has been going on. I wonder how many of us there have been. The notebooks described the breaks in detail, each one different. Some were small, hairline fractures that leaked cold air and a smell like ozone mixed with something metallic. These he could seal in minutes, routine maintenance. Others were larger, tears that opened like wounds in the fabric of the air itself. These took hours, required compounds he mixed himself from materials he kept in the cabin's cellar. Salt, iron, oils, powders I couldn't identify. Spoken words in a language that wasn't English, wasn't any language I recognized. And some breaks were catastrophic. Events that took days to contain. Events that let things through. The things he described were never fully visible, never clearly defined. He wrote about them the way a person writes about peripheral vision, shapes at the edge of perception, presences felt more than seen. It moved wrong, he wrote in 2003. Not through space the way living things do. It folded, like the air bent around it and it slipped through the bend. I watched it for 20 minutes before it noticed me. When it did, I felt something crack inside my chest. Not a bone, something else. Like a piece of my mind just broke off and fell. He sealed that break with a method he called the burning. It took 3 days. He didn't describe it in detail, just noted the date, the location, and a single word at the end. Survived. I found the cellar on the 2nd week. It was beneath the cabin, accessed through a trap door in the bedroom closet. I almost missed it. The latch was disguised, blending into the floorboards. The cellar was larger than the cabin itself. Shelves lined every wall from floor to ceiling. Jars of compounds unlabeled except in my grandfather's handwriting. Bundles of dried herbs, containers of powders in colors I'd never seen, and equipment tools I couldn't identify, metal instruments, some scorched, some stained dark. In one corner, a map, hand-drawn, massive, pinned to the wall and covering it entirely. It showed the surrounding terrain in extraordinary detail, every trail, every clearing, every ridge and valley for miles, and marked on it dozens of red dots, some faded, old, some bright, recent. Each one corresponded to an entry in the notebooks, a sealed break, a patched tear. The density of the dots was staggering, hundreds of them, some clustered so tight they overlapped. I stood there for a long time staring at that map, at 50 years of work, at the scope of what my grandfather had been doing. And then I noticed something else, in the margins of the map, in small, careful handwriting. The breaks are getting worse, more frequent, bigger. I can barely keep up. Below that, underlined twice, someone has to continue this. The skin won't hold without maintenance. I opened the notebooks again, this time looking for instructions, practical ones. How to find the breaks, how to seal them, how to survive doing it. The methods were documented meticulously. Compound recipes, spoken seals phonetically spelled out, techniques for detecting fissures before they opened fully, patterns in weather and animal behavior that preceded breaks. But there was one section I'd glossed over the first time, a single page near the back of the final notebook, dated 2 days before my grandfather died. The handwriting was shaky, barely legible, but I read it 3 times until I understood every word. To whoever finds this, to whoever feels the pull, you didn't choose this. I didn't either. My father didn't, and his mother before him. It passes between us somehow. Not genetics, something else. Something the skin does when it needs a new guardian. It will feel like instinct, like you've always known where to go, what to look for. That's not intuition. That's the border choosing you, aligning with you, giving you what you need to do the work. You'll be afraid. You should be. The things on the other side aren't curious. They're not malevolent, not exactly. They're just wrong. They don't belong here, and when they come through, they damage everything around them. The land, the animals, the air itself. And if you don't seal the breaks, they get bigger and bigger, and eventually the skin tears open somewhere that can't be patched. I don't know what happens then. In 50 years, I never let it get that far. Neither did my mother. Neither did anyone before her, as far as I know. But I'm old now, and I'm tired, and the breaks are coming faster than I can find them. So I'm passing this to you, not with permission, not with a choice, just with the hope that you'll understand why it matters, and that you'll stay. God forgive me for what I'm asking. It's been 4 months since I moved back into the cabin. I found my first break on the second night, woke up at 3 a.m. to a sound like air being sucked through a crack in a window, followed it to the north ridge, found the fissure exactly where my instinct told me it would be. A tear in the air itself, maybe 2 feet long, edges flickering like heat shimmer, cold pouring through it, that metallic smell. I knew what to do, not because I'd practiced, because it was simply there in my mind, the way you know how to swallow or blink. The compound, the words, the motions. I sealed it in 20 minutes, walked back to the cabin with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The breaks come every few days now, sometimes more often. Each one different, some small, some large, some that take hours and leave me exhausted and bleeding from places I can't explain. I keep my own notebooks now, same format as my grandfather's, same level of detail, dates, locations, methods, observations. I'm learning the patterns, the way the air changes before a break opens, the way animals behave, the way the light shifts just slightly in the minutes before a fissure appears. I'm learning the things that come through. They're not all the same. Some are small, barely more than cold spots and wrong shadows. Some are massive, presences that make the trees groan and the ground vibrate. I haven't seen one fully yet, don't think I want to, but I feel them on the other side of the skin, pressing, testing, dozens of them, hundreds maybe, waiting. Last week, I found something my grandfather hadn't documented. A break unlike any in his notebooks. It wasn't in the woods, it was in the cabin, in the bedroom, in the mirror. The surface of the glass wasn't reflecting the room. It was showing something else, a landscape I didn't recognize. Dark, vast, a sky with no stars, just a deep, suffocating black that stretched in every direction. And in that landscape, shapes, moving, gathering, pressing toward the surface of the mirror like fish approaching glass at an aquarium. I stood there for a long time, watching them watch me. Then I sealed the mirror, used the strongest compound I had, covered it with iron, with salt, with every layer of protection I knew. It held, for now. But I added a new entry to the map, pinned it to the wall next to all the others, and I marked it differently. Not a red dot, a black one. Some nights, when the breaks are quiet and the woods are still, I sit at my grandfather's kitchen table and read his notebooks. Not for information anymore, just to feel him there, to understand who he was, what this life cost him. He never married, never had close friends, never left Montana after 1971. 50 years in these woods, walking the border, patching the skin, keeping the world intact. And nobody knew. Nobody thanked him. Nobody even knew there was anything to thank him for. I think about that, about the weight of it, the silence. Then morning comes, and I feel it, that pull north into the woods. Another break is forming. I lace up my boots, grab my kit, walk out into the cold. The skin holds, for now. Someone has to make sure it keeps holding. That someone is me. I didn't choose it, but I stayed.